You're listening to the Podcast Detroit Network. Visit www.podcastdetroit.com for more information.
Thank you for clicking play. This is the one and only IT and the D Show. We're at episode 214 here in Studio One in Podcast Detroit in beautiful Royal Oak, Michigan. It's Bob the Sales Guy hanging
for
out.
episode 214.
Dave the Geek.
We are now 2 away.
This is like my drinking excuse. I drink because it's my birthday next week. I drink because it's my birthday now.
Nary the FNG. We're pre-celebrating his birthday tonight. Randy, I do the Twitter's Walkers in the house. Find us online, itinthed.com. Guest tonight, we have Rick Lane from Proofpoint. We're going to be talking email phishing and spoofing. Should be
kind of a, for us lately, it's kind
been
of
a common.
It's a hardcore geek episode.
Yeah.
Brace yourselves.
Well, and then also we got from Breaking Down the Ring podcast, we got Mikey Nichols in the house, who we were giving 5 minutes to rant on the iPhone X. You should not have to miss that. And then, by the way, we're cutting the show early, but we will be playing the interviews that we did at Secure World Detroit this past week. We have roughly about an hour, 5 interviews, pretty awesome people.
Pretty good content.
Some people, they wouldn't tell their names or where they worked, but
because it's Secure World.
Right.
They could tell us, but then they would have had to kill us.
But hey, do us a favor, subscribe to us on social and anywhere fine podcasts are sold.
Hey, before we get rolling, so are you in the dark ages when it comes to your workspace environment? Are you still using a desktop? I still have a desktop. Is your phone still attached to a wall? No. If so, Emergent Networks can help you upgrade your work environment. Their modern workspace allows you to use your own computer, tablet, or mobile device from anywhere while still staying connected and secure. 69%, that sounds like a made-up stat just to get giggles out of us. 69% of all employees are more productive in this type of environment. Contact Emergent Networks to discuss how to modernize your workspace. Go to www.emergentnetworks.com/WS1. That's the number 1. That's www.emergentnetworks.com/WS1.
Awesome. Appreciate it.
You're listening to the Podcast Detroit Network. Visit www.podcastdetroit.com for more information.
Following program is intended for mature audiences.
I'm Wyatt, that's Gary, you're Bob, and you're Dave. This is the IT and the D Show.
This is Max Headroom. And what you're about to witness is one of the most sinister-sounding intros to a trailer to one of the greatest epics ever.
This is Billy D. Williams. Bob and Dave and I are enjoying a Colt 45 right now. And remember, IT in the D, it works every time.
Where do you guys think you are? The Library of Congress? Detroit? Beyond the sun? Any of those, right?
Take him to Detroit. No, not Detroit. No, please. Anything but that. No.
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Then don't come. Shut up.
Hi, this is Christy Swanson, and you're listening to the IT in the D Show. And Bob and Dave touch my hoo-hoos.
That's what happens when you tap the angry beaver in the bunghole.
Exactly.
Come on.
Someone tries. What the hell with this? I'm calling a break. We'll come back to the show.
This is Guilfoyle from Silicon Valley, and the only two guys I hate more than Dinesh are Bob and Dave. Suck it, guys.
What's up, everybody? This is Billy Zapka. Sweep the leg. Listening to IT and the D Show. No mercy.
I may have to wipe the geek off.
Hi, this is Kelly LeBrock from Weird Science. So, Bob and Dave, what would you little maniacs like to do first?
Are we at a break yet?
Hey, this is Zach McGowan from Planet Earth. You're listening to IT and the D Show.
Hi, I'm Ernie Hudson, and you're listening to IT and the D. All you nerds out there.
Nerds.
Nerds.
What is a nerd?
I'm a nerd, and I'm pretty proud of it.
Hey, Detroit, this is Anthony Michael Hall. You're listening to my buddies Bob and Dave on IT in the D.
This is Scott Steiner, Big Pump Pump. The IT in the D Show is your hookup. Holler if you hear me.
You're in your underwear, I'm in my underwear. Here, let's hang out.
No, I'm sorry, honey. I have a headache.
I definitely want to see Bob in his underwear. That's a fact.
Hey, everybody, this is Tony Todd. What's happening? You may know me from Candyman, The Rock, Sushi Girls, Zoom, Night of the Living Dead. A lot of pop culture media madness. Anyway, you're listening to IT in the D Show.
business.
I'm totally into Dave, but not so much Bob.
This is Robert Hayes, the tit striker to my mother. When I'm not hanging out at the Magumbo bar, I'm listening to the IT and the D show. It's worse than Detroit.
Is there such thing as a meat hangover?
I love my Monday meat steak.
Hey, folks, this is WWE Hall of Famer Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and you're listening to the IT and the D show. Tough guys. Oh!
So, what would you little maniacs like to do first?
The question isn't what are we going to do. The question is what aren't we going to do.
Ludicrous speed! Sir, had you better buckle up? Now buckle this! Ludicrous speed! Go!
Special shout out to Nunyo Business, who complained about the length of our intro.
I was just going to say, the shout out to the random Detroit cast listener who dropped us a note to let us know he couldn't listen to our show because our intro was too long. So since you're not listening, F you.
This is
Don't Come. Shut up.
the one and only IT and the D show. This is episode 214. We're sitting here live in Studio 1 in Podcast Detroit in beautiful Royal Oak, Michigan. It's Bob the Sales Guy. It's Dave the Geek. Nuri the FNG, who's celebrating his pre-birthday party. Find us online.
Because we're 20-year-old girls, so now we have birthday weeks.
Long. Yeah,
birthday weekend.
Who's got the pedal pub?
Randy. Oh no, Randy. I do the Twitter's Walker is in studio. Find us online, itandthed.com. Like us on all the socials and subscribe to us everywhere fine podcasts are sold. So this lawsuit has been going on.
Well, so let's handle some business.
I wanted to jump right in because I'm getting angry.
I know. We've got our event this Thursday night out at Falling Down Beer Company. People should come there. We've got the podcast conference that we're featured guest speakers at. On Saturday. We'll be there.
That's the 23rd.
That's Saturday.
If you're keeping score at home, that's the 23rd.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So this lawsuit's been going on for seriously.
We've talked about it several times.
This has been over a year old, and the news
own the monkey selfie.
The monkey selfie, but the fact that this thing still is going on blows my mind.
But it's not anymore now.
No, but the settlement finally came out, and the judge finally ruled in favor of.
No. There's no judge ruling.
Well, actually,
because it was
lower
settled.
Court, they said yes. They've ruled the photographer.
Yeah, the lower court.
But then PETA then's like, nope, we're taking this higher.
Well, and right. So we talked about this 3 weeks ago because the photographer was like, Jesus Christ, they're appealing. This is going to bankrupt
Guy
me.
can't afford to fly to his own hearing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, they settled for
25% of any future revenue that he makes from that picture. I don't think the guy's going to make any revenue from this picture anymore. I don't know.
See, if I were him, I would be basically banking any money that comes in from that photo as going against the lawsuit dollars.
Whoa!
Before any dollar of profit is ever
probably
shown.
Do that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, start the hashtag not Harambe. Can we do that?
Not the monkey selfie.
The monkey's name is Naruto.
Wait, it's fermented
Dragon
beans?
Ball Z.
No, that's
natto.
Sorry.
I don't know.
It's delicious too. If you've ever had
But so speaking of Harambe, so there's a school in my old.
Speaking of Harambe, this is the worst segue of it.
No, but it's an act. No, unlike you, it's actually an on-point segue. No, so there's a school in Fairfax, Virginia, my old stomping grounds. There's a high school, Jeb Stuart, named after a Confederate general, that has decided that it should rename, and so it has taken to the internet to solicit
Which
names.
Sounds like a great idea, right?
Because that's worked out so well so far.
We don't know. We have no creativity. Let's ask our constituents to see
Right.
what they want to name it.
So far, I believe my favorites that have come in are, of course, Schoolie McSchoolface.
Of course.
Triggered Snowflake.
Colin Kaepernick High.
Colin Kaepernick.
Wait, what is it? What school is it? High school or junior?
It's a high school.
Okay. Colin Kaepernick High.
First Virginians, the phony.
Yeah.
Is another good one.
Beyonce Knowles.
Harambe High
and
School.
Harambe. Yeah, so this is an actual accurate segue.
Bradley Chelsea Manning actually came in.
You can't forget Schoolie McSchoolface.
That was the one I started off with.
Did
Captain
you?
Bourbon. Yeah. Have some more bourbon.
So I'm drunk and Randy's drinking whiskey tonight.
Randy's been in Kentucky all week. He's still
I've been
hungover.
drinking bourbon nonstop for the past 4 days.
Yeah, sorry. Randy's been in KY for 4 days. That's
Actually, the school has an update. They posted the results of their voting. And now what has to happen is the top 3 go to like some kind of legislative board, and they decide which of the top 3 become the elementary.
Now, so I'm not
schools.
going to lie. Like, this is the part that made me laugh kind of hard. So the reason why I know about this story is because my niece posted about it. She still lives down there. And my uncle, who went to this school, chimed in. And he was legitimately angry that the only people who were going to actually get a say in this were the people that were still residents in the area. And he was like, but what about the alumni that went to school there? And I'm like, really? Really?
No, it was elementary school. That's why you're like the alumni.
Oh, that's
thing.
right. Yeah.
The top 3 are bullshit too. Like Stewart was the top number.
So
number
just
1.
drop the Jeb.
Yep. Number 2 was Justice Thurgood Marshall. It's pretty good. And the third one was. But either way, they're all boring. So Schoolie McSchoolface didn't make the cut. Sadly,
Of course not.
You know, and it seems like every week there is a new dissension in the world of Lucasfilm. And the latest one, I think, made the universe go, no.
Why?
With J.J. Abrams writing and directing 9.
But he did 7.
Right.
And it was what it needed to
so
be.
9's going to be, they're going to blow up a half-built Death Star, and there's going to be a bunch of Ewoks.
But I'm the guy. Yeah, see, I'm the guy.
There's not
going to
be
most
Ewoks. There's going
skeptical.
to be something else.
I believe he successfully avoided becoming Jar Jar Abrams with Episode 7.
Right.
Episode 7 was what it needed to be, and he did a decent job. I'm okay. Like, there was no.
Snoke's going to tell Kylo Ren, feel that, or like, kill him, and then like, no, I can't kill Rey because she's my friend, and then they're
she's
going
my sister. Yeah.
And then he's going to kill he's going to kill Snoke and throw him down the well,
and then there'll be lightning, and it's going to be. It's exactly what it. Yeah, I mean, we all know. Like 7 was 4, 8 is going to be 5,
right?
9 is going to be 6.
Right.
It's a thing,
right?
Because sell toys.
Please, yeah, I know. I heard there's backlash over that like cute little doll for 8. It's like a little Muppet, like.
Yeah, it's so cute. I can't remember its name, but it's so cute.
Right.
Yeah, the little apparently there's millions of them in the movie.
And it's the new new Jar Jar.
They're the new Ewoks.
The new Ewoks, right. Except there's not midgets in this one.
So we better enjoy the hell out of ourselves down in Ohio on Saturday because apparently the world is ending.
Come on.
The world is ending again?
Again.
When?
Saturday.
This Saturday?
Saturday. They don't know the time, but apparently there's a very specific Bible verse that mentions the hurricanes and like all the stuff that's
there was
going
some
on.
kind of number that they found in
33 because it's 33 days after the eclipse.
Oh, that's right. It was the eclipse.
And one of the Hebrew
hurricanes.
names for God was mentioned 33 times in the Bible.
So don't drink Rolling Rock while watching Larry Bird. I don't
No, you can't play Angry Birds while watching Larry Bird.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, so Planet X is coming, apparently. Even though it's been detected by no telescopes, it's blocked out, no stars.
It floats, right? This planet's basically like they call it a lost planet.
Yes.
But
it's not reflecting any of the light from the sun whatsoever.
So some phantom menace is going to come after Earth on September 23rd?
We all knew the Phantom Menace was going to be the end of society as we knew it.
Seriously, it would be a lot cooler if we could have a countdown clock, though. It's just
right.
And we all sit outside like we're watching the eclipse.
It's like an old counting down, guys.
9, yeah.
So I'm just going to go ahead and say that's full of shit because by the time the show gets in syndication, when everyone hears it, we'll know what happened.
We'll still be there and
So,
we'll be drunk in Ohio.
spoiler
Yeah.
alert.
Hey, Dave, if you ever need to hire a CISO at your company, can you do us
Check
a
the
favor?
cred?
No, check the latest music major crads and hire one of them.
But Bob, I mean, it's all about the mathematics of music.
A music degree would actually. But there's a fair point here. A music degree would actually be of great value when it's time to face the music.
Dun, dun, dun.
Especially if she decides to start singing.
Why do I have no bells?
Oh, no. No.
Yeah, no, so for those not paying attention, so Equifax, it came out that their CSO, their chief security officer, had a degree in music. That was her degree.
That's not terrible. I mean, I have a degree in Spanish literature, and I teach programming classes and write technical documentation.
But you're not a CSO
of the biggest credit reporting agency.
Yet.
Right.
Call me Equifax.
And apparently they're rampantly trying to erase her from the internet.
Are they really?
Oh yeah, no, like she's already like retired, quote unquote. And they're trying to scrub any mention of her. Like her LinkedIn profile no longer has her last name; it's just her last initial P.
They dropped the videos off
The
YouTube.
CIO, same thing.
Yeah. Just
why is this a problem though? What does it matter?
They effed up. That's what the problem is.
Because I am the first person to say that most college degrees are complete and total BS.
Right.
In general, but when it comes to something like being the chief security officer of, I don't know, I guess arguably the largest of the credit reporting agencies, you probably ought to have a pretty solid background.
You have the entire
in IT
country's
security.
Social purchasing history.
Because again, like our conversation in Secure World, I didn't ask to be part of Equifax's data. I never did.
Right.
I didn't opt in. They just have my shit.
Right.
Right.
And I can't get out of it unless I go become a existential Nuri at Burning Man 365 days a year.
And then they know what I'm doing.
And even then, because you still have to buy tickets.
Okay, was she just hired though, like out of nowhere, or has she been in the company working her way up?
I think she was in the position for a while. Actually, so she probably was in a role different from that, and then became the CISO.
That's kind of
I don't
where it
think
comes
that
then.
4 years of your life should dictate what you do for the last 30.
If you're in the
And
whole
I
company
get
the
that.
whole time, if you're in the company the whole time and working your way up, I mean that's kind of like saying, okay, I got a degree in in tech. Okay, I got a degree in tech, but then I started working in a restaurant, and I worked from a busboy to a server to a bartender to a manager, and then moving all the way up, and then end up becoming a CEO of the restaurant chain I started in.
You know, I got to take that bigger than that, though. What if, like, the chief nuclear scientist in North Korea's nuclear program has a philosophy degree, right?
Dude, I don't want the guy that's going to, let's say, perform my vasectomy.
Have Parkinson's.
Your first or your second one.
having been a music major.
Why? He plays the flute really well.
You would want him there, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I'm sure he's great at fingering, but yeah.
And I wonder if did the team in Argentina from Equifax get fired yet?
Dude, see, that's it. Like, this stuff just keeps coming out. Like,
it's surreal.
Apparently, the
admin,
the Equifax servers in Argentina had admin as their user ID password.
Default,
like that's
default. Yeah, unfortunately that's not as uncommon as you would hope.
Oh no, I know it's not. But again, damn it, you're Equifax.
Right.
Do what IT and the D does and put their street address after the word admin.
Exactly.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Right. That's our password for everything.
More Equifax news that just dropped an hour ago. Apparently, they had another major breach of their systems in March.
Yep.
5 months before they disclosed the actual, or they said that the actual big one happened, and they said it was unrelated, but they said it was by the same people, quite possibly. So it's surreal. It just comes, and then the whole
thing with Apache.
The shots fired heard around the world.
God, this is what we said that last week. We're like, I guarantee you that they had not patched their shit on a quarterly basis.
And sure enough, Apache came out and went, yeah, no, that vulnerability was fixed in March.
That's
and they
all on
patch.
you.
The same day it was announced, they cut a vulnerability patch.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, no. And here's the thing, though. How many people are going to read it? They're going to think that it was
Apache's fault.
Yeah, because Equifax came out and said, nope, it's Strutt's problem. Nope. And now you're like, hi. All software does patching.
I beg
we all
to
find,
differ.
Yeah, we all find holes in our stuff. None of our stuff's perfect. We fixed it, though, and you chose not to.
And you opted not to, yes.
And now you're 143 million people whose data is now at risk. So what do you do, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is, I would say you have to assume that your information's out there.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Well, and it's like, and we talk about it all the time. I mean, to me, it's not even as bad as this is. It's not the individual breaches that are the issue.
Right.
It's knowing that, okay, so now you've got this breach combined with all of the other breaches, and somebody is out there just compiling a master database of all this stuff, and they're gonna they're going to have a better data set on you than Velasas.
Right.
Velasic, the pickle company?
Yeah, no, Velasas, the company that makes like really lets companies make really creepy decisions for you on the web.
Ooh, Googling.
Coupon, yeah. Well, Velasas is a local company.
Yeah.
Yeah, the communication company.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so basically, they're the ones that power by the time you finish loading certain automotive companies' web pages, we already know your IP address, have a pretty good example, guesstimate on who you are, where you are, what you're doing in life, what your marital status is, do you have kids, rough approximation of your credit score. Let's go ahead and serve you up these cars, not these cars, because these are the ones you should afford. Da 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 da. Yeah, it's a thing.
Wow. Well, they also in Red Plum, those fuckers who keep sending me mail. That's my second this quarter, but I'm drinking. So.
Double bell.
Sending me crappy coupons and stuff.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
So you know what else is a thing? I was worried that the new season of South Park wasn't going to be good.
Oh, God.
And they over-delivered.
You're happy about that?
They over-delivered.
Dude.
I haven't watched it yet.
How do they keep doing it and knocking it out of the park?
It's amazing. And the best part of it is they messed with people's homes.
Yes.
Like, that's the greatest
mine
part.
didn't. So if you don't, mine didn't go off though. So they did like Alexa.
Well, but so if
Alexa, tell me, put teddy chips on my shopping list.
See, that worked because I actually was woken up. I had a 7 a.m. alarm go off with hairy balls on my shopping list.
Did you really?
Yes. I had a 7 o'clock alarm go off that morning. And I'm like, thank you, South Park.
Damn you, Parker and Stone.
But you're freaking brilliant. So.
No, but then the best is like,
I'm sorry. The best was Cartman when he got into the trash bin and got like all of the Alexas and Google Homes that people had thrown out and started them talking to each other.
Yes.
Like that's apparently what really screwed things up for people is that because it was giving like simultaneous commands both to Alexa and Google Home and just spinning them out of control.
I think his phrase was, Alexa, Simon says, okay, Google.
Yep.
And then, boop, it just kept going. That was incredible.
But then also the sideshow, because there's always like two going on with the...
Oh, yeah, white people renovating houses.
Right. Which is pretty much every show on DIY.
The Detroit art continues.
Right, exactly. It's the Nicole Curtis show. It's pretty much what's going on. But yeah, kudos to Parker and Stone. You guys did yourselves.
Amazing. So I do. I love because we talked about this. I don't know. I wish I could remember what event it was where the guy basically BS'd his way into being the sign language interpreter for an event. And stood up there and was like, aliens, Harambe, gorilla, da-da-da-da-da.
That was an evacuation notice for Hurricane Irma.
No. So this happened before.
Oh, okay.
So, so this happened, and literally this guy's like, he's doing ASL for the announcement. And the translation of what his sign language was dog, cat, baby, toys who Mexican, one lunch, 20 bear left Mexican money.
And bear monsters. Bear monsters.
Pizza Watt, you are Seed Be Bear Monster.
Yeah.
I watched it and I giggled, but I also kind of felt bad for the dude because apparently they picked him because he knew some sign language. They didn't hire an actual interpreter. This dude is a lifeguard for Manatee County whose brother is deaf. So he knows basic sign language to talk to his brother.
Aw,
they put him up on stage in front of all these people, and the guy was just choking to keep up. This was not him trying to be a shit.
That's
this
horrible.
Is him just having a hard, rough day. I mean,
that's
it's like
horrible.
Yes.
Like Harambe, Mama, like
Pizza,
Congo.
Bear monster gesticulates. Right.
So I love the great article though of the week because we love these the business decisions that companies.
I feel bad for
look
people.
back and regret. Like Blockbuster could have bought Netflix. They passed.
And now they just
someone
tweet about their
invested in
bushes.
Barnes and Noble.
Right. But so, dude, knowing that Excite.com was in negotiations with Google and could have bought them for $1 million, and then Google dropped the price and said, nah, just take $750 we'll take.
They would have killed it though.
And they still said no.
They would have killed it. It's like if Tom Brady went to the Detroit Lions, it wouldn't have been Tom Brady. Like if Excite bought Google,
We don't let people cheat here?
You're right, that too.
I wonder how they're doing right now. Oh, they're up 14-7 over the Giants. Good job, Lions.
Oh, yeah. And yet still have already been mathematically eliminated from the playoffs.
But if it was Excite.com, it wouldn't be Google. It wouldn't be Alphabet. It wouldn't be what we see it. It would have been toilet. Like you see that with a lot of the cool companies that tech companies buy. All the companies that HP and Cisco buy, they turn into parking lots.
Right.
Just to buy out their,
And bury. Yeah.
So the other big news, and last but not least, and we have a special guest in the studio for this. We had
I feel like this is like Weekend Update, and we're wheeling in Father Guido Sardouchebag to come in.
So
what is going on over here?
So Apple had a major announcement where
huge announcement, big league.
Huge.
Well, not only did they decide to
the chip is bionic. I mean, come on.
Not only did they decide to be just like Microsoft and skip 9. Like, what's wrong with 9 these days? Like, you can't. I want to start something.
Bad luck in China.
Is that what it is?
No, I don't know.
I don't know either.
They don't. It's no in German.
Line under the number. Is
Oh
really what it
no,
is.
it's no in
It
German.
upside down.
It would have been the Apple no in German.
Apple 9.
But we got Mikey Nichols in the house. He's one of the hosts of Breaking Down the Ring, one of the wrestling podcasts we have here, and absolutely ranted on us so hard. We said you got to be on the show and talk about this wonderful Apple announcement.
Oh man! So okay, I'm 100%. I am still to this day an Apple fan.
You're an iDrone.
Yeah, basically. But I have bought every iPhone that's come out. I have a Mac. I have the Apple Watch. I just love how easy it is to use. And
Apple toilet paper. My butt's never been cleaner.
The iCrap.
Just say no to Samsung.
iWipe.
And I've always said that I know that Apple doesn't make anything. They don't start stuff. They take something that's already been out and they usually make it better. They never had the first touch screen phone that was a Palm phone. They didn't have copy and paste on it, but it was easier than what was on the Android phone. So it's always like, look, I know they're not innovation. I know Apple's not innovation, but Apple just takes something and makes it better. What you have all of these different things on all of these different Android type phones, and they're all put together on one phone, the iPhone. So it's like, I get it. But then they announced the iPhone X and
iPhone 10.
The iPhone X.
10.
We're not Greek. Yeah.
So I knew that was going to happen. I knew they were skipping 9. I wasn't expecting an 8 and 8S until like a month or two before, when all of a sudden these rumors came up. Because when they introduced Apple Watch Series 2, I said, okay, next year's the 10th anniversary of the iPhone. Steve Jobs, unveiled it, so they're just skipping it. It's going to be 10. And I thought they would call it Series 10. I figured they'd include wireless charging, but the only thing that would make me happy is if they had long-distance wireless charging. Because no such thing as wireless charging. I'm sorry, it's not. You have to put it on a base. That's not wireless. You're actually less inclined to use your phone while charging it because you're stuck there. You're more stuck there with these bases than you are with a wire. I have room to move around while charging on a wire. I'm not going to pick up the charging base and my phone to use it.
Probably gives you cancer anyway.
That's fine. But so I'm like, the only way Apple can do wireless charging is if they make a distance. I don't care if it's 5 feet. If like, hey, I have a base in my room, I put it in. If I walk within 5 feet, my phone will connect to it. It'll charge. Great, smart idea. Didn't happen.
Isn't that how Tesla killed elephants?
Yes. Hey, we're announcing a port for earplugs. Whee!
I even get taking that out because everything's basically wireless. So it makes sense to me to an extent.
No, you know why they did it?
Why?
You know why they did it?
Solo.
Because now you can't use the Square. Now you can't use the PayPal card reader. Now you have to use Apple Pay. That's why that's there.
Really?
Put an adapter into the Lightning.
Oh, you can have a dongle for the dongle to the dongle
Which
with
they
the
give you.
dongle.
Or you
Which,
can-
I'll be
It
honest,
comes in the box.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Apple.
that's me too. That's why I have a kid.
Weak.
So, no.
Sorry, my brain's a little alcohol ridden. It's cool.
Then they announced the edge-to-edge screen, and yes, of course, Samsung did it a couple months before, and that's fine.
Years, not months.
The edge-to-edge screen,
6 edge. Yeah,
the
I had it.
6 edge, yeah.
Which is two versions back.
Yeah.
Well, but again, like basically top to bottom.
So was that one.
And,
I owned it.
The
Yeah.
S6. Yeah.
So then, I looked at it and I'm like, you guys don't have an edge-to-edge screen. You can say you do, but you don't. What you have is 2 little ears that go above the screen that you have the time and all of your cell phone whatever on, but there's no way you're watching a movie on that because in between that is all of the cameras for your portrait depth and everything like that. You don't have an edge-to-edge screen. You're literally saying it's something it's not. When I watch a movie, I'm going to lose whatever little space is in there. So to me, it just...
So you have to go letterbox?
Huh?
You have to go letterbox?
No, not that false. Like, it just seems like they tried to do so much into this to make it so big, and then because of all these other constraints, got screwed, so they had to pull back. Like, they were supposed to still have Touch ID in this phone. You don't have it anymore because they couldn't get the parts to make it fast enough to meet demand. I mean, it's even coming out a month after the iPhone 8 and 8S.
That's what they said, facial recognition password. Now everybody in Hollywood's got to get facial reconstructive surgery every 90 days.
Every 90 days, yeah.
So to me, it's just like, as an Apple fanboy, I watched that, and just that one segment, especially because they use "and one more thing," which is a Steve Jobs line to where this is going to be big and special. You touted it as something big and special, and it wasn't big or special.
And for the low price of a used Subaru.
And it's $1,000 effing dollars.
The Galaxy Note 8 is $960.
Six? No.
$960. You
Right.
For the Note 8.
You know what?
Yeah.
I will openly mock anybody with a Galaxy Note. Always have, always will.
I loved that phone.
There's just
the 4 or
certain
5.
things that I won't
Phones
make
shouldn't
fun of.
cost more than cars, right, guys?
Well, phones shouldn't be somewhere between like a tablet and a laptop.
Right.
Have a phone.
Right.
Yeah. And yeah, I literally just sat back and went, this was the dumbest thing ever. I don't mind the Apple TV 4K. I get it. I thought you should have had it in the last Apple TV you came out with. But also, it wasn't as popular as it is now.
I'm so old, I remember when phones were phone flavored.
The complete
my phone was just a phone.
Nerd in me is happy about the LTE and the watch, because now I can pretend I'm a Power Ranger no matter where I'm at and talking.
Johnny Sacco first.
Getting a hold of Zordon.
Johnny, Power Rangers. To see, look at Mikey. Everything. Johnny Sacco did it first, then Power Rangers did it. Now he references Power Rangers. Blasphemy.
It's Zordon. And yeah, you get Michael Knight talked to Kid on the watch too. Yeah, 100%. So it just, to me, it was just like, it was an okay event, and then they just basically peed all of us. Just
One
like,
thing
hey,
I've seen
Mark
about
Kelly.
Apple is they've mastered the idea of marketing hype for any release. It doesn't matter how good or bad it is.
Oh no,
they come
crappy
at you,
products. Amazing marketing.
They're the best marketeers in the world by far. And when you look at what they do, they big announcement, doesn't matter whether it's the X, the 10, the 8, the 2. And they get everyone interested, and you're just fascinated. What are they going to show us? And then you get all this expectation and hype about what you want to see. And sometimes it meets expectations, and many times it does not. Right? Samsung does not do that, but I still give Apple credit for the marketing hype that they throw at people. But I'm a Samsung guy. I'd be interested to see how I'm always fascinated when I see people with the watch and the phone. Are you talking to the watch, the phone? How do you sync up all that stuff? I mean, to me, it's like complicated.
So, hey, we're up against a break. We're going to take a quick one. We'll be back with Rick Lane from Proofpoint talking about email phishing and spoofing. This is the IT and the D Show.
And we'll be right back.
IT in the D. Read, meet, listen. Networking Detroit, one beer at a time.
Hey, this is John Schneider from Nip Tuck Smallville, the haves and the have-nots. Oh, Dr. Quinn, Hot in Cleveland, Secret Life of the American Teenager, and just about everything you can possibly imagine. And oh yeah, the Dukes of Hazzard. You're listening to Bob and Dave. It's the IT in the D show.
ITinthed.com.
Welcome back. Thank you for listening. Segment 2, episode 214. This is the one and only IT and the D Show, broadcasting live here in Studio 1 in Podcast Detroit in beautiful Royal Oak, Michigan. This is Bob, the sales guy. That is Dave, the geek. Nuri, the FNG, we're celebrating his pre-birthday party.
Hey.
And Randy, I do the Twitters Walker, is doing his job diligently. And follow us online, filling up the Twitters, Dave.
Woo! Support for today's show comes from Bluehost. Bluehost is a top-rated website provider that powers over 2 million websites. It has everything you need to build the website you've always wanted, and gives you the freedom to design the website your way without being limited by templates. It's simple enough for beginners and powerful enough for even the most advanced users. And with fully customizable templates and third-party app support, you get total flexibility and control. Plus, with a 99.9% uptime guarantee and automated updates, it's truly reliable and offers maximum security, including malware monitoring and protection and automatic secure WordPress installs. Not to mention, thanks to Bluehost's 24/7 tech support, online resources, and expert services, you'll have all the help you need to build and succeed and to save time. Bluehost is the best tool to build, host, and manage your website. No wonder it's been the top recommended WordPress host on WordPress.org since 2005. And now our listeners save 50% when you sign up at bluehost.com/IT. That's bluehost.com/IT.
And it's so easy.
Even a Bob can do it.
Even I can do it. Yeah,
all
yeah.
together.
Thanks for your support.
Hey, and just because our next segment is going to be all the pre-recorded stuff, I just want to make sure I get it in one more time. Thursday night, we're going to be at Falling Down Beer Company. 5 o'clock start time, no agenda, no sales pitches, no BS.
Just delicious beer.
Just amazing beer. And who knows, they may actually have some of their mead down there from the new place in Oxford. Anything's possible. And then Saturday, we're at the National Podcast Power Conference down in Perrysburg, Ohio. Doing
Toledo,
our thing.
right?
Huh?
Toledo-ish.
Yeah,
it's Toledo.
And then if nothing else, you should buy a ticket and come because we're going to be drinking and getting dumb, and that's what we do.
Exactly. And we're featured speakers.
Featured guest speakers.
I know. Ooh.
Bob, I ate at Tony Paco's tonight.
It's delicious.
It was really good.
I know.
Pony tacos?
Tony Paco. Toledo hot dogs. So it seems like every other story we've been reading about that involve breaches have to do with like email spoofing where someone clicked a
breaches be tripping
invitation to New Year's Eve to spoofing like the false the invoices they spoofed. And so when I ran into an old buddy of mine at Secure World, I said, "You got to come in studio because you are the king of email spoofing, protecting, not doing." Rick Lane
That's
from
a big title, by the way.
Rick Lane from Proofpoint is in the house. How you doing?
I'm great, Bob. Thanks. And if you're the IT sales guy, I can be the IT security sales guy.
There it is. As you've been doing that, like I've known you almost 18-ish years now.
It feels that long.
And you've been selling security this entire time, which is an absolute it's
I'm
crazy.
a dinosaur. It's
you
true.
are.
Yes.
Well, because back then we were like security.
Oh no, they have it covered.
I got a firewall.
It was fine. Whatever. I had a hard time. I'd go to cocktail parties, seriously, and people would be like, "Well, what do you do again? Security? Are you physical security? Do you work in the front door?" I'm like, "No, I'm internet security." What?
Like, wait, you're our key card guy?
Yeah. They just didn't get it. But the internet created this whole space, and I'll tell you, it's out of control. You see it every day, like you mentioned earlier in the segment, the Equifax. Lots of other breaches that we can talk about, but the problem is human beings, we are the weakest link in any network, right?
The PEBCAC error.
That's right.
The
problem
criminals
exists between keyboard and chair, yeah.
Exactly. They want to get access to what we have access to, and they know that it's not a matter of getting to the server. It's a matter of getting the servers through us, our credentials.
Yep.
They want to log in as us. They want to do things like we would do, and they become masters at getting us to click on things because it's so easy to do, right? And email is the primary way to do it because think about it. Who does not have an email address today?
Who doesn't have it? Like, you're going to take the path of least resistance.
Right.
Is it easier to try to brute force your way into a network?
To breach a perimeter, basically, right?
Or to send a couple of million emails that it costs $0
Correct.
to send and hope that 1% clicks and falls for it?
Or even better yet, Dave, go ahead and target high-profile people.
Right.
Customize messages that are very powerful, and you might have a 50, instead of doing the spray and pray approach, you target a few, and you get 50% odds, and man, that's when you start making real money. CFOs, CEOs, CIOs, CSOs, Equifax, all of that, right? And you prey on the circle of trust with email.
Yep.
And that's kind of what's happening right now today is, email is inherently insecure. People don't really understand that I could be the CEO of any company. I could spoof an email address, gm.com.
Dude, I remember the amazing amount of fun we used to have with fake mail back in the mid to late 90s. This is nothing new.
Right. Or when SMTP, SendMail, had 0 authentication, so you're like, hello.
Right. Oh, yeah, open
RCPT
relays. Yep.
Right, yeah, totally, all the time.
So let me give you guys an interesting statistic. So Gartner this year in security spend, so you'd think like the CISO and the CIO you were talking about with Equifax earlier, security budgets, we all know email, we think it's a pretty big problem, but this year alone, 92% of all security budget is spent on everything not email. Right, so only 8% is spent on email. Criminals use 95% of their efforts focusing on email as the initial attack vector to get in. Right, so
because again, path of least resistance.
That's right.
Well, you said circle of trust too, right? So if I get an email from my boss and tells me to do something that may be freaking stupid, I may do it because my boss has told me to. And we basically tell the entire
without
world,
walking the 18 steps over to go, hey,
that's right.
Got this email.
But we tell
it seems a little crazy, but man, I'm going to do it because you told me to.
Yeah. We tell the entire world who our boss is thanks to LinkedIn, right?
Yes.
So all that stuff is like, oh, my team member just sent me this email.
And that's how it starts.
Or my VP just sent me an email. I mean, I'm the VP of this department.
Right.
It's so we're basically helping them do this.
Oh, we are our own worst enemy with social media. I'll tell you, anybody with a internet connection can find out anything about anybody, and people are talking Facebook, LinkedIn, or Twitter friend over there, managing Twitter. I mean, it's all out there, right? So we give them the data to basically take advantage of us, and ultimately, it's a huge problem, right? When you're clicking on links you're not supposed to. People say, well, educate your users, train them. A little bit better to do that. And
well, that was my first thing. Like, you're hearing a lot more like security awareness training is becoming extremely prevalent.
Yeah.
And I know, like at Cisco, for example, they would send out like once a quarter, and it was so obvious they wanted you to click. Like it came from like something.
Tested you.
Yeah, it was a test. And who are the idiots that clicked the whatever it is that we sent? And you knew it was obvious. So, like, you put on IM, hey, don't open this.
And when you clicked on it, you got a nasty email, right? Saying, oh, Bob.
I never clicked on it.
Oh, you never did? Well, you
deleted.
If you did, that's just good man.
Right.
Some people did, and they got a nasty letter saying, oh, well, Bob, just so you know, that was a test. They warned you.
Fail.
Yeah.
You're on
the test.
Hey, thanks for having that preview pane open in your Outlook so we can go ahead and run it without you even opening it.
I always do that. That's when they used to talk about like the emails they would send out, and they go like 40% open rate. I'm like, well, no, it's preview pane. Like,
not really open.
Not exactly.
It's kind of sort of open.
It went to red, and then I deleted it immediately.
Yeah.
So I mean, here's the thing. What are you supposed to do about it? Especially like if it comes from your boss, comes from a trusted source. It comes from
So what happens,
or at least appears to.
Yeah, it appears to. So what you got to do is you got to look at. There's different ways the criminals will. There's something called the display name for you. And I'm a sales guy. I'm not going to go super technical here, but the email looks like it's coming from your boss. But if you hover over it and you want to validate that the actual name is who they say they are in the email view, right? It looks like it's coming from your boss, but you may want to double check. And better yet, like we talked about, go 18 steps to your queue, your CFO next door, and say, listen, did you actually? This seems weird.
Do you really want me to wire transfer all this money to the Cayman Islands?
To this supplier today? Well, no. And what they do is, this is a fascinating thing for you guys. They literally they social engineer vacation schedules, so they'll know when the CEO is about ready to jump on a plane, or that kind of important person. They talk to the secretaries, they get all this data. And then it looks like, this guy's legit. He's on a vacation. He's gone. He's in a hurry. Hurry, please. I need this done ASAP.
Sense of urgency.
That's right. Yep. That's the urgency. And then all of a sudden on the back end, you get that message, boom, I'm out the door. And then the criminal says, call me if you have any questions. He helps that person enable the account. And you think, well, wait a minute. They have an account set up. What happens when they send it to the known account? Well, they say, today, we want this other account. We're having account problems.
Right.
So then it's not your account. I'm going to give you my criminal account. And pretty soon they enable the criminal to get the wire.
The VPN's down. I can't log in from off-site. This is my personal address. Yeah.
Right. And then before you know it, you get victimized. And it's a sad deal because we talked about URLs and not to click. The email spoofing issue that's most dangerous right now, guys, is stuff that does not have a URL under attachment to download. There's no action required other than it's a straight email text message. And it looks like it's just, my trusted email partner sending me a work-related task to get done. And I got to get it done in a hurry. I'm going to get it done as part of my work process.
Yep. If you want to hack us, just go ahead and make me some Jira items and assign them to me. I'll do them.
Right. Because you want that close rate. Right.
Yeah.
Now, hold on a minute. So, like, I'm a sales guy, too. Like, what are you saying? Like, a plain text email, no action items. What happens?
Well, there's the plain text email. What you're doing is this email spoofed attack. It looks like it's coming from someone inside your organization, but it's really not. So it's coming from, let's just say, a CFO to somebody in their finance people that are paying the bills. The boss is telling me to pay the supplier $10 million. Of course, I'm going to do it, right? And there's like usually an urgency, like, pay this today. A wire transfer needed to be done. And if you don't double check, you'll basically start a criminal,
Yeah, you'll be sending $800,000 to someone that shouldn't be getting $800,000.
Just in the last couple of weeks, there was a
just happened in Canada. Yeah,
yeah, in Canada, there was a month ago, actually less than a month ago, some poor person in their procurement group, 3 separate transactions. One was $800,000. That was the first one. Then the criminal ratcheted up to $1 million. The last one was $9.9 million. Now, these groups don't have money. They don't have that kind of. I mean, this is a big project that she thought that they were paying somebody else to, and then when she realized it was the wrong group, boy, I don't want to be her. Yeah.
It's a tough. Sorry.
Didn't mean it.
I didn't think about it.
How many dollars? Come on, we love our Canadian friends.
Do we?
I don't. Yeah, they gave us Tim Hortons.
Not your guy, buddy.
Not your guy, pal.
I'm not your buddy, guy.
No, I think the biggest thing is the exact. And I will say this: being in sales, I see that this has got the attention of the CEOs, the CFOs, not just the CIO and the CEO. So I think personally, I feel like it's one of the bigger problems in protecting these external threats. Just what I've seen out there, right? And how you ramp that up with the IT groups and talk to the security team, the messaging team, and others. It's an important conversation to have because you don't want to mess with email availability, but you have to have security in place so that you can make sure that the emails coming in are validated, authenticated as legitimate people and not fraudsters, basically.
Now, I'm just curious. Office 365, has that made it easier, more difficult? Doesn't matter that everything's
doesn't matter.
cloud-based now?
It's just a web-based email.
Yeah, I just figured. I wasn't sure if it made it.
Well, I now my Microsoft friends would probably argue with me on this point, but I think it's actually made it a little bit easier. But Microsoft traditionally has not been known for security. They're a lot of work. I know that's hard to believe.
I know you secure your company with Windows Defender,
Dave.
Dave.
They are trying hard to get more involved in security. But 365 is a platform for email. It's a great collaboration tool. It's a phenomenal one. We actually use it ourselves. But what you really want to do is make sure you've got security and compliance around that ecosystem, whatever email system you use, 365, Google, Gmail, anything. And that's kind of what we try to do is help companies figure out how to protect that external ecosystem from being compromised. And that's 9.5 out of every 10 threats you read about in the newspaper or the internet, CNN or whatever, it starts with email. That's the initial attack.
Yeah, it makes sense. So that's the first factor. Yeah.
We talked about this. There was a survey that went out to the hackers at Black Hat this year, and it's like, which of the things scare you the most? And I think 20% of people said like network and IDS. Right. So basically, nobody cares about your perimeter. It's all about your employees.
That's a great point. I mean, I think it's I've been in the space, and Bob, you've been there just as long, I think, as I have. And, like 18 years, as long as we know each other. So, what I've seen initially, think about it like the companies when the internet first came to be. You sold a lot of DS1, DS3s. So you got connectivity to the internet. So then it was like, okay, let's lock down the corporate office and all the remote office.
Well, and keep in mind, the internet was designed to be open.
Right.
I mean, like that's the fundamental issue.
True enough.
I mean, TCP/IP was designed to be a very open protocol because it was designed for sharing. The internet was designed to share research papers, like all this other crap that has happened since then.
Way beyond.
Yeah, I mean, it was supposed to be an open protocol. Security was a huge.
It was an afterthought.
SSL did not come along at the start of the internet. Yeah,
no, it was. Let's figure out a way to have everyone communicate and forget about trying to make sure that we secure those communications.
Yeah, because it'll be just like a phone system. You don't need security on a phone system.
No, absolutely, you're right. So people with, initially they wanted to lock down their corporate, office, their one internet connection that they had. And then it became, we got to look at all our remote offices as well. So then they started doing that. They put firewalls at all the endpoints, and the criminal attacks only ramped up from there. And you're like, wait a minute, companies are spending all this money, in some cases tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars to protect their ecosystem. And the attacks are not only not stopping, but they're getting more intense. So
and they're not necessarily going where the companies are spending their money shoring up their defenses.
Right, and what they're trying to do, and so it evolved from there. And then it was like, okay, we got all these security devices. Then they would deploy a firewall. To your point, network IDS. Then what you have is all these devices spitting noise at somebody in the organization. They don't have enough people to manage these devices. Think about a firehouse, and you've got one massive 5-alarm fire, and it could be any one of a million different houses. You know what I mean? And you don't have any, and you don't have.
And all you know is fire.
Yeah, fire, and maybe it's a city of Detroit.
Well, there may or may not be a fire.
Yeah,
it could be just smoke. It could be just like a fog machine.
Right.
I mean,
and in the meantime, you've got 5 minutes to get down there and put out that 5-alarm fire in that one house. And by the time you figure it out, it's way too late.
Before Mr. Robot scrums your data. Yeah,
nice.
So I mean, if you're an average user, I mean, how do you protect yourself? I mean, at the end of the day, some of those when those things are convincing as hell, and you're in a rush and you're just trying to clean out your inbox. I mean, what are you supposed to do to safeguard yourself?
Well, I think you've got to look.
And I'm not teeing you up for a cheap commercial.
Listen, I appreciate that, Bob. I mean, from my perspective, if you always think twice about, I get emails from friends all the time that there's just straight emails. Click on this link. I'm like, man, that's not something I'm used to seeing from you. And you just delete them. But I think if you're in a high profile position in finance, HR, typically, or any other executive position in companies, you really want to have a process built in place to deal with those wire transfers, especially because that's the big problem right now. Just you and I, Gmail, Google,
right?
Yahoo. I mean, you might get a virus that destroys your computer, but we're not going to get.
Have a backup; it'll be okay.
They're not going to ask you to wire, hundreds of millions of dollars out of Europe. I mean, maybe we'll get to the point where that starts to happen, but this right now is a corporate problem. So. Just using common sense, I think, is the biggest thing. Being skeptical on the internet, really, in general, and email and browser.
Talk to your parents about online scams.
Yeah.
Visit talktothemtoday.org.
We've talked about this.
It's my website.
And I would the other thing I would say is beyond email. I see you have to assume that your information is out there. We talked about Equifax earlier. I've got. They say sign up for credit monitoring. Well, it's already out there
on an insecure website.
I don't know how that's going to help you, right? I mean, you got to think about.
So now I have to pay you to monitor my data that I didn't want you to have in the first place,
and I got to pay you to freeze it.
Right.
That was the big takeaway from one of the CISOs at Secure World. He goes, right now, the only thing to safeguard you from like Equifax is freezing it, so you got to pay him the $10 for everyone in your family.
Yeah, exactly. It's basically I'm paying the guy that broke into my house to house sit while I'm on vacation.
Right. And although, Bob, I will tell you that's true, the other dangerous thing is I put a freeze on myself. The thing is, you got maybe the PIN numbers were in that Equifax data that the criminals talked about. Then what, right? Then we're even if you froze your account, it's hypothetically could be dangerous.
Well, and that's the worst part of it because I do I've got the whole family monitoring and all that kind of stuff going on because that's the concern that people don't really think about is your kids.
That's right.
I mean, you get SSNs for your kids, you should probably pay attention to that before they turn 18.
Mm-hmm. That's very true, and I think a lot of people. It's definitely something you have to be proactive in.
Yeah,
is freezing your account? Is it yearly, or is that? I was going to say, that wouldn't be the worst idea in the world to freeze my kids' credit because there's no reason they'd be open anything anyway.
I believe it's an annual charge.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, and freezing, you could talk.
Well, $30 I spend more than that at Burger King. Crying out loud.
No, and then it's a minor inconvenience for yourself because anytime you want to buy a house, buy a car, go gambling.
Then you unlock it, and
whatever. You want to unlock your credit, but to me that's worth. The aggravation because then I just unlock it and lock it again and
right. Yeah, it's like losing a credit card. Freeze it. Oh, I found it in my pocket. Unfreeze it. Yeah.
Right. No, I mean that's kind of what I would do. But I mean, an email back to the email thing. I think it's just an interesting time. I think because we are all the weakest link, and email is a great way, and phones too. Think about that. I mean, how many times are you on your phone? You're distracted. You click on an email. Oh, that's Joe or Betty. I'm going to click on that.
Well, you're half asleep, right? Maybe in the middle of the night.
You're half asleep. You're not
on your BlackBerry scrolling.
Well, and you don't necessarily have all of the tools that you do when you're sitting on your laptop. You can't hover over a link,
right?
When you're when you're on your phone to see if it goes to the URL that it says it's going to. That sort of thing.
You can press and hold on it on iOS.
You can probably do that in Android then.
We have an Android. I just don't feel like using it. So, hey, we're coming up against the top of the hour. Where can we find you on LinkedIn? Do you mind?
Yeah, no, I'm on LinkedIn, Richard Lane, Twitter, is Richard P. Lane at Richard P. Lane. Love to connect with you guys that want to talk security or sales. I love sales topics too, so don't let that scare you.
Awesome. Overcoming Objections 101.
Absolutely.
Right.
Hey, Rick, appreciate the time. Always good seeing you. We're going to head over now to Secure World Detroit, where Dave and I interviewed a bunch of cool people, and that's going to wrap up after that. It's going to wrap up episode 214.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to be back with Secure World Detroit, and we'll see you soon.
IT in the D. Read, meet, listen. Networking Detroit. One beer at a time.
Hi, I'm Brittany Daniel from The Game, and you're listening to IT in the D Show.
itinthed.com.
Welcome. Thank you for listening. You have reached a special one-off of the IT and the D Show here at Secure World Detroit at the beautiful Ford Conference Center. Dave, how you doing?
So far, so good. I mean, it's I've run into some old friends, from past incarnations and that kind of stuff.
These are like high school reunions.
They really are, yeah.
Everyone sits up in a little booth, but it's like you can't walk to a cup of coffee without saying hi to 20 people. But hey, we are lucky enough to be joined by Tammy Shoemaker.
Is that why it took you 2 hours to come back with coffee?
That was about a half an hour. She is the director of the University of Detroit's Center for Cybersecurity and Intel Studies. Tammy, how you doing?
I'm doing real good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Hey, good seeing you again.
So we met you a while back, I believe, at Converge.
Very good.
And you were doing a program, and you were trying to get attendees to go. And I believe that's going on again?
Yes. So it's a national competition. It's a middle school and high school competition that's run every year. This is their 10th season. And I am lucky enough to have scored some great funding from MEDC to help support the growth of that in Michigan. And what that's given us is it's given us the ability to sponsor the first 80 teams free registration to compete in the game. So I've been working everyone I could possibly think of to get as many people involved in this as I can.
So if you are a middle school, high school that want to be in this, all you have to do is ask you? How does that process work about getting involved?
So you can either contact me directly. It's Tamara Shoemaker. So tamarashoe@gmail.com.
Okay.
But you don't even need to do that. All you need to do is go to Cyber Patriots website and sign up, and I automatically get the bill.
Aha! So it doesn't matter if you're East Michigan, West Michigan, North Michigan?
I love it when other people get the bill.
I know, right?
That's the best kind of thing ever.
Absolutely.
But it doesn't matter where you're from as long as you're in the state of Michigan.
As long as you're in the state of Michigan and you're competing in Cyber Patriot, I get the bill.
So what's in, from an education standpoint, from a student level, I guess how advanced or not advanced they need to be to get involved in this?
So the wonderful part about Cyber Patriot is that you can start at any level. They have 3 levels, right? So everybody begins at the beginning level when you first start the competition in November. So it's a monthly competition. It's virtual. It's a 2 to 5 person team, and you compete in a 6-hour window anytime during that weekend, this competition weekend that you pick. So whatever works for your team. So everybody starts at the exact same level. So if you're a very, very newbie, or if you have some wild, crazy skills, you all start at the same place. And then what they do is your score and your abilities in different areas tells them at the AFA where you belong and what level. So there are 3 levels. There's the silver, gold, and platinum level. And so then next round, it gets harder.
Because bronze just isn't a thing anymore.
No.
You don't even count. Doesn't count.
Well, no, because that we always joke about that. If you're a gold medalist in the Olympics, you won the gold. If you won a bronze, I medaled in the Olympics. But you never say I won a silver medal.
Right.
It's like the worst medal to get.
Yeah.
So now it's the starting level for Cyber Patriot. It's working out amazing. I've been talking to schools across the state, and it is definitely, I'm so glad that you mentioned that. It's all across the entire state. I ran 2 summer camps this summer, one on the west side and one on the east side this time. One in Battle Creek, and we brought everybody from the west side into the Air National Guard base. They were happy to give us the space, so we had students come in, and they got to experience what Cyber Patriot's all about. And Cyber Patriot is a defensive competition. It's if you opened up your box right out of the package, brand new computer, what do you do to make sure you're secure? What are the things
Step
you do?
one, don't connect it to the internet yet.
Well, there you go. Keep it in a box. Keep it in the box.
Right.
Now you're secure. But if you actually want to use it, and then, oh my goodness, if you actually want to connect it to the internet and networks, you might need to know a few things. And so
the goal of this is to attract students to pursue careers in cybersecurity, or is this just for cybersecurity awareness in general? I guess what's the end game goal?
All of the above. Right. So I don't care if anybody playing in this game just becomes a user, because then you're not a stupid user, right? Breaking all of my security protocols. You actually get it, why you need to do these things and not to go around them. Or if also the other goal is to get more people in the pipeline, more kids in the pipeline, more kids knowing that this is an amazing career field. And here's the educational tracks that you can do. I work with a group called MSISI, so it's Midwest Sissy Coalition, and that is all the community colleges and universities in the state that are teaching cybersecurity. And so I can show you whatever pathway you want. We also partner with all the security bodies, so whatever security certificate you want, we'll point you in the right direction. So there's a ton of ways to go at this, and there's a ton of different kind of people I'm looking for. I'm not just looking for the geek who's been in their mama's bathroom, or a bathroom, in their mama's basement coding since they grew, right? I want those guys in there, absolutely, but I also want every other person that has even the slightest inkling that this is something that they might want to do, that they might want to help protect the infrastructure, they might want to help protect their mom and her bank account, and be just better users all the way around, because once we get them out there in industry, it matters if they've got a bit of an awareness about this, right?
Insider threats becoming more prevalent than cyber attacks ever
I think
it could be.
Always been that way. I think people are just finally becoming aware that it's always been that way.
Well, now they can finally see or they know.
Well, we've been working on all the hard stuff, right? The ones and the zeros and the firewalls and all the stuff that we can get our arms around. The soft squishy bits, those people, they're kind of hard to control. But if we can change culture, if we can make it more of an awareness piece. So right now, do you think about putting on your seatbelt before you drive, or is it just part of getting in the car and starting the vehicle?
We have to, or we'll get a ticket.
Well, there's that part
Marshawn Lynch,
too.
I'm just here so I don't get fined.
So it would be cool if we could do that with cyber, right? We could give people tickets if they don't do proper cyber procedures, but that's not going to happen.
Right.
I mean, you've seen with the Equifax and all of the millions of breaches that we've had. Where's the actual accountability?
Sales goes up at Target. Sales went up at Wendy's.
Who's going to jail?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's right. Nobody's wearing an orange jumpsuit, and until that happens, then things don't change. But I'm trying to start young, right? The kids are using these things young. Why are we not teaching them good behaviors immediately? I got 2-year-olds swiping screens. They need to know it's not so cool that you just went over Grandpa's shoulder and surfed his password. Shoulder surfed his password. But you did, and so now you can buy all the Angry Birds stuff you want because you know.
So what's in it for the schools? I guess what do you win?
Well, the free
other
piece
than the bragging rights?
The free piece is awful nice. The fact that we're paying for registration, but I got to be honest, registration to Cyber Patriot is dirt cheap. $205 gets you a whole season, right? And that is from October till April, and then it actually really gets you a whole year, because in May you can sign up again for the next year and start getting practices and work all summer. But what it also delivers is STEM education on a plate. It also gives you cybersecurity curriculum on a plate, right? It's all there. They have already put it all together. They put together a wonderful tool set of Cisco stuff. They have every iteration of Microsoft, every iteration of Linux operating systems. They have all kinds of tutorials that you just download as a coach, or a mentor. That's the other piece too. You don't have to know a thing if you are the coach at a high school.
So the $200. So sorry, I don't mean to go back, but it's per student, per class, per school,
per team, per team. Okay, per team, and the teams can consist of 2 to 5 players.
Got it.
And each coach can coach 5 teams. And so then you'd have to have, if you have 6 teams, you have to have another coach that gets involved. But the other piece is that the coach doesn't even need to know that. Okay, it could be the English teacher, but we bring in mentors as well. So both the Cyber Patriot at the national level enables mentors to come in, because it is a sign-up sheet. You just go on, you sign up, you become a mentor, you get assigned to a team, or you pick a team that you want to work with, and then you have a mentor that actually has the skill set that we need. Or you come through me. I've gone to every professional association, every meeting like this that I can go to and talk about it. And so all the professionals have been giving me their cards. I actually have more professionals signed up than I have teams right now.
Wow.
So we need schools to sign up. It can also, by the way, it can be a Boy Scout troop. It doesn't have to be a school.
Okay.
It can be a Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, YWCA, YMCA. It can be a church group. It can be a rec center that puts together a team. The only caveat is that they have to cover insurance, have insurance to cover the coach to work with students, right? We all want to make sure everybody gets their background checks.
Yeah, of course. So, what's the URL?
I think that means you're out, Bob.
Oh, come on.
It finally caught up to him. What are you going to do?
So what's the URL to get more info?
So, uscyberpatriot.org.
Okay.
You can sign up immediately, and again, I'll get the bill. Registration is October 5th, so even if you sort of think maybe I can get 2 to 5 kids, I mean, come on. You can't throw a stone and not hit 2 to 5 nerds. Right? To get involved in this. Sign them up, because even if you can't get them together and you can't get it all together, we can back you out of the system, but we can't get you back in, right? October 5th is October 5th, and that's the cutoff. The competition starts in November, and it's once a month, and it's for a 6-hour period during the weekend of competition. So, I mean, get in the game. I will get you the help you need.
Okay. Besides putting it out on the show, we will also help you out and put it on Twitter and all other social outlets. 'Cause, obviously we both have young kids, and we want them to get involved in this kind of stuff.
I already beat it into my kids' heads.
Oh yeah, there's a whole there's a hierarchy.
The other piece is that not to shortchange it, 10% higher than any normal IT person makes. Cybersecurity folks.
Oh yeah,
right.
Well, not just that. Like women in IT in Detroit make 122% of their male counterparts.
And there's a negative unemployment rate
in
cybersecurity.
There's that part. Yes.
So,
jobs. Yes.
Right. So you're the days of, Daddy, I want to be a doctor. We're like, have you ever thought about being a cybersecurity sales professional?
Absolutely, please.
You can kind of make doctor money and not have all the stink.
And help us all protect the infrastructure here, man.
Right,
I don't want the lights to go out. Thanks.
That too.
Thank you so much for this time.
No, absolutely. Awesome. Tammy Shoemaker from University of Detroit Mercy, Cyber Patriot. We appreciate the time. We will definitely get the links out. And good luck with everything. If you need anything else, you know where to find us.
Thanks so much.
Cheers, Tammy.
And we're live.
Welcome back to a special edition of the IT and the D Show, broadcasting on the floor here at Secure World Detroit. And we just got done with lunch, and I'm ready for a nap. But there's no rest for the weary.
No, it doesn't. That's not how this works.
Exactly.
That's not how any of this works.
We are lucky to be joined by one of the keynote speakers this morning, Rebecca Harold. She is the president of Symbus 360, the CEO of Privacy Professor, and you spent the morning discussing and talking about the internet. It's IOMT. You're adding another acronym, but it's for medical, so the Internet of Medical Things. Welcome to the show. How you doing?
Hi, I'm doing great. Thank you. It's been great being here so far.
Absolutely. So when you talk about Internet of Things, there's always a thing with medical, and it's these FDA-approved devices that aren't on the network or aren't approved by IT, and is becoming a problem. I guess talk to me about, at least from my standpoint, talk to me about what your speech was on this morning, and then let's dive into a little bit more on that.
Sure. Well, I was talking about the prevalence of so many more types of medical devices, and the fact is the FDA does not have oversight of all of the medical devices. Certainly in the United States, for those types of medical devices that your physician prescribes to you,
sure,
those have to pass certain safety requirements, and it's pretty rigorous. But when it comes to security and privacy, the FDA in the recent years have put out some guidelines, but they are not legally required, and it doesn't go through the same process as their safety. Then you have all these other types of devices that are created and going direct to consumers. So now you can get different types of asthma dispenser devices that go directly to the consumer, and they're smart devices. So they will tell you and send to the cloud when you've actually had dosages, keep track of them, keep a log, where you were at the time you did it, how much you did it. And the goal of my keynote this morning was to raise awareness for everyone, not only of the medical devices, but the new type of health devices that are out there that are collecting very large amounts of data about each person using them, and also the fact that we are having more and more devices created that people don't know about as far as security and privacy goes. So, for instance, I talked about different categories of health and medical devices this morning. And I went through the different ones. And so one of them was like the ingestible medical devices that are now coming on. I think it was a $6 million market in 2016, and it's expected to get up to something like $133 million market. But basically, these are smart pills, but they're medical devices. They actually have very tiny circuits that are on the pill. They're coated in magnesium and copper, and when you swallow them, the electrolytes in your body turn them on.
Activate them, yeah.
They activate them. So basically, there's three parts to smart pills. There's the pill with the circuitry. There's a patch that's usually attached either on the person's waist or their arm. So the device is sending data to the patch, and then that patch sends it either to a smartphone app to go on to physicians and so on. So the point is, most of these types of devices, long-standing devices and new ones, do not have security or privacy controls built into them. A lot of these devices are able to attach to different Wi-Fi networks, including public networks. So you start getting into the fact that if you don't have security or privacy controls on them, that data could be collected
literally
by
could
others.
go anywhere. Yeah.
Or think about this, the device itself might be accessible through those unsecured public networks to get to the unsecured devices.
Yeah, because I know we had talked on our show, I want to say it was either maybe 18 months to 2 years ago. There was an actual documented case of someone getting extorted. Someone had found a way into their pacemaker.
Yes.
And and it's one of those things where you're like, oh yeah, absolutely, that should communicate back to the doctor. Well, that's great if that's all it can communicate back to.
Right.
But yeah.
Well, and just recently, I think 2 weeks ago, they announced that one of the medical device manufacturers of pacemakers, a researcher found a vulnerability in three-quarters. Yeah, so there was over 750,000 pacemakers that have this vulnerability, and they recommended that 500,000 of them get updated right away so that somebody won't exploit that vulnerability.
So who's on the hook for all this data? Is it the CISOs of the hospitals that procure these medical devices, or
it could be
the medical device manufacturer? I mean,
more likely, who has the deeper pockets? Does your CISO have deep pockets? No. They might get canned, but the lawsuits are going to be against the organizations. So the medical device manufacturers need to realize that they're going to be responsible and accountable. Now, a lot of times they put in their legal agreements for using the medical devices or apps, some sort of disclaimer to try to get themselves off the hook if there is a breach that occurs. And so, they might say, well, we said you shouldn't use it in this particular situation or in this type of environment and so on. But that really doesn't cut it.
Sounds like those lawyer commercials. Have you ever had interaction with another human being?
Seriously.
You could be entitled to a huge cash settlement.
Have you ever slept once?
Well, and then just 2 days ago, there was another one. It was an injector for some sort of acute care medicine.
Okay.
And a researcher found that they could actually get access to this medical device remotely. A lot of medical devices, historically, you've had to be within the vicinity to get to. However, now they're making those devices so that they are communicating with other devices in the network in which they're in, and then if you can get in through the network to get to the device, you can get to the device. So
it's always weakest point of entry, yeah?
Always. So just 2 days ago, then, this injection protection type of device was shown to be vulnerable to hackers remotely, and so there's another 500,000 or so people that need to have that updated. Now, those patients are located in care centers and are pretty much, not able to move around.
Right.
So now it's up to the caregivers to get them updated. So how are they going to get them updated? They need to make sure that they work with their doctors and their information security team together. But the biggest point of my talk, though, is the fact that we're moving from having medical and health devices just used in a health care provision center to having almost every person is going to have some sort of medical device used. Fitbits are an example of a health device. There is
which have already shown up in both criminal and civil proceedings.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. And just recently, one of the fitness trackers was purchased by a pharmaceutical that creates devices, medical devices. So now what they wanted to do was to be able to incorporate the data of the people that use the fitness trackers so that they could also use within their medical devices that type of data. And of course, they're looking at what is really good and groundbreaking for increased and better medical care. But the problem is when you have great possibilities for innovation, you also have great possibilities for risks to security
or abuse,
and privacy, or abuse. And talking about that, there have already been cases. There was a case, and I didn't have time to talk about it in there, but with a pacemaker. There was actually a case, I think it was earlier this year, where there was a man who claimed that he woke up on his second floor of his home because when his house was on fire. And so he said he jumped out of bed and he grabbed his suitcases and put everything he could into 2 suitcases and threw them out of the window and ran downstairs and got everything he could save before the house went up in flames. He had a pacemaker. So what did the fraud investigators for the insurance claim do?
Let's check that heart rate.
Let's check the pacemaker data. And it became a fraud investigation case. And they found, because of how the data was on that pacemaker, how his heart was reacting did not match with his description of what happened. Because in that pacemaker, they could tell the exact date and time and location where he was with that pacemaker. They could tell his heart rate didn't increase from jumping and running and dragging and everything else. So he was convicted of fraud from data on the pacemaker. So now we have a case that is paving the way for other uses. So just think, now whenever you have a health device that you purchase directly from the device provider, a health tracker or whatever, or a medical device that you're using, not only now is it viewed as a good source of data to help you with your health, but it might be good for solving crimes and fraud. What else is it good for? Well, shoot, if I'm a health insurance company, it would be good to know if I'm giving health insurance to someone to establish the premium. Let's look at the data on your device, and maybe we need to charge you more for that. Or what if I'm an employer? I want to hire somebody that I'm going to do a lot of training with. It looks like they might die soon because we know from the device. So that was just one aspect of many of how this data now might become valuable to many other types of entities who want to use it for other purposes beyond the purpose for which you bought the device or had the device implanted to begin with.
It's time we all unplug. I'm convinced.
Middle of nowhere, Montana.
Seriously.
Yeah. So now, what is it that your companies do? Is it just strictly consulting, or?
Well, my one company does strictly consulting. It's called the Privacy Professor. I established that in 2004. So I've been helping a wide range of organizations to establish their information security and privacy and compliance programs. I've done hundreds of risk assessments, privacy impact assessments, vendor assessments, assessments. I've done work for NIST, the National Institute of Standards Technology, so I led their smart grid privacy group to identify privacy issues within the different types of devices like smart meters within the smart grid, and I'm still doing some work with them on that. Right now I'm also a member of IEEE, so that's the engineering group. So I was one of the originating folks for the P1912 working group that's establishing technical standards, technical security and privacy standards for consumer wireless devices. And I was really excited to get into that because a lot of these medical devices we're talking about
follow that realm,
they need to have some technical standards, because when I talk with engineers and say, why aren't you building in security and privacy? A lot of times they're like, well, tell me how.
Yeah, nobody told me to.
Yeah, and they can't look at, the generic privacy principles, because if you're an engineer, and I started as a systems engineer back early in my career, you can't look at something general and have it tell you how to actually build a device. So I'm hoping that my work with IEEE too, and that's a volunteer thing for me because I just think it's important to do. So I hope that will create technical standards that all of these device makers, there's 3D printed medical devices now. The people making them aren't pharmaceuticals. They're people who have an idea and they want to build something. Are those people actually building in security and privacy controls? No, they aren't thinking about that. Their focus is, here's a problem I want to solve, and so I'm going to build something to solve the problem, but they don't realize that when you put this solution into a digital environment, you now have all of these different pathways to get to the data.
Yeah, great. I diverted that river so that it doesn't flood my backyard, but oh wait, now it flooded the entire city 2 miles that way.
Yeah.
Exactly. This whole conversation's blowing my mind because it's just like if I was responsible for all that, how do they even sleep at night as like a privacy officer or a CISO from a, if you look at, and how does HIPAA even try to even keep track and keep people compliant when you have so much data sprawl from so many different areas?
And HIPAA, and that's another area. I've worked in HIPAA a lot. In fact, I wrote 2 books on HIPAA. And HIPAA only applies to covered entities and their business associates. So if I'm a medical device creator, I don't fall under, if I'm doing it direct to consumer, I don't fall under the definition of a covered entity because I'm not a physician giving care to someone in return for payment. I'm not a health insurance company. I'm not a health data clearinghouse. I'm someone who's providing a device directly to another person, and it's collecting the same type of data, health data, biodata, but yet I'm not covered by
loopholes.
By HIPAA.
Again with the
Seriously.
loopholes.
Well, it's like with anything, when you build something so complicated and complex, people are going to look for the easiest way to get around them, and that's what that is. Right? I mean, HIPAA is...
And then we started talking about the tax code for 5 hours.
Right, but it's true.
Well, and think, though, HIPAA was actually passed in 1995. So think about what our digital world was like in 1995. We had no Internet of Things. We had a very young Internet, but there weren't a lot of people that were using it because, you had AOL dial-up CDs and floppies that you were using to get online. But now it's much different, so we need to update.
I still blame AOL for making it way too easy for people to get online.
I still recognize that sound that you make too.
So he's the You've Got Mail guy is an Uber driver in Ohio.
Really?
Yeah, somebody found him and did an interview with him.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so that's what he's doing these days.
You're not set for life being, or is he just bored and wants to meet people as an Uber driver?
Apparently the AOL money ran out. And he wants. Yeah.
I was gonna say.
So what does Symbis do?
Yes. So Symbis is a mashup of the words simplified business. And during all of these assessments that I told you about, and I've written lots of hundreds of policies and procedures, done a lot of training, I saw I was continuing to do the same thing over over and over again. It was customized, but I was still going through and doing the same methodologies. So I thought I can build a cloud service that will allow an organization to manage all of their security and privacy program in one portal, keep all their documentation there securely, and I can even help them by reminding them when they need to do things, update their policies, or do a risk assessment. So for the past 3.5 years, I found a business partner who was interested in creating a similar type of business. At first, he was just interested in HIPAA compliance, kind of. He had been doing it with a CD-based one, and he found me because I knew HIPAA, and then I said, well, yeah, let's build this together, but instead of looking at just HIPAA, I want to make it work for every single organization. So Symbis is for any organization to manage security, privacy, policies and procedures for that, training for that. I put a new training module out once a quarter, and one of these years, hopefully next year, I'll get to doing once a month. And then, the clients that we have, I want it at a price point where it's affordable for even the smallest organization. I have a group of 450 to 500 acupuncturists and chiropractors that have never been able to do HIPAA compliance before, because when you have a 1 to 3 person shop for something like that they're barely making enough anyway. So now...
Then you slap that on top of them,
Yeah, so now I made it so, they can do it for the cost of maybe 2 fancy coffees a month. I can help them, with all of their security and privacy programs, but I also scale up. Our program also works for organizations as large as 50,000 employees, so it's very scalable.
So where do we find Symbis at online?
Go online to Symbus360.com, and that's SIMBUS360.com.
And then the Privacy Professor?
The Privacy Professor, I've been accumulating since 2004 a lot of different sites, but...
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. And I don't get rid of my old ones because they're like my archive sites. So Privacy Professor, those 2 words spelled exactly the way they should be, .org, is where you can find some of my standalone products that I sell. But I also have privacyguidance.com that I created back in 2004, and I just keep adding to that. And it's an ugly site, but it's got a lot of stuff.
Hey,
and
form before function.
Yeah,
that's my world.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to yak with us.
Sure. Happy to speak with you.
Appreciate
Ladies and gentlemen, Rebecca Harold, president of Symbis 360, CEO of the Privacy Professor. This is the IT and the D Show live at Secure World Detroit. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Thank you for listening. We are at Secure World Detroit on the floor. This is the IT and the D Show, and this is a phenomenal show.
It's been pretty good so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Besides the steak at lunch, everything else has been absolutely top notch.
Hey, just because you don't like your stuff still mooing doesn't mean that other people don't.
Hey, we were, nothing's been going on for about an hour. Then all of a sudden we have like 7 people coming up to us, but this is amazing. We're lucky enough to have one of the keynote speakers from this morning also. Stephanie Shorman from InfoGuard is hanging out with us. How you doing, Stephanie?
Good. How are you? Thanks for inviting me to the show.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think some people know what InfoGuard is, but some people it's kind of a little bit of a mystery. For those that don't know, I guess talk to us about what InfoGuard is and what you guys are doing.
Sure. InfoGuard is a public-private sector. The goal is to build trust for sharing information between the public and private sector to protect our critical infrastructure from compromise. So if you're involved in critical infrastructure, supporting it in any way, creating it, engineering it, maintaining it, if you will, we want to be able to communicate and build trust so we can share information to prevent threats, and attacks. And I think there's a lot of examples right now, and there's a lot of worries.
Well, you've got, we were just talking about it Monday night, the Dragonfly 2.0 that's going after the electrical grids.
Electrical grids, right? And we've that always pops up, right? And we even in theory it pops up, and then we've seen it. You've seen it in the Ukraine, and it could happen here, right? Where through a cyber attack, they can take down our ability to have power. For you to even run this radio show, charge your smartphone, watch your television.
Right now it's serious.
Seriously.
I can't charge my phone. We have issues.
Right.
But it can also be destructive, right? And it could be intentional. And I think we're really worried about that. We're worried about as we move into an ever-connected world, right? You hear the buzzwords of Internet of Things. You know, what does that mean? Is it my Fitbit? Is it my smartphone? Is it
yes and yes?
Is it my
and
house
yes.
and my thermostat and my cameras?
Yeah, you've got Captain Default Password over here.
Is my Alexa listening to me?
But really, the nice thing about InfraGard, right, is InfraGard is built to connect with the individual. So it's really the first step to get involved and build trust, primarily through Homeland Security via the FBI, to reach out and connect, to make sure that we're offering training to the individual, small business, medium business, giving them opportunities, even large businesses, for training, right, for connecting with peers, and so that they can collaborate and talk with each other. And so we really connect them locally. We connect them with support and information in the state, like who do you call when you have questions or what to do, whether it's an emergency response situation or maybe it's just a simple ransomware and you don't have an on your own team, right? How can you call and reach out to these resources? Right. But we also provide a connection nationally. The organization in general, right? So each state has one or more chapters. Michigan has one chapter because the number of chapters you have depends on how many FBI field offices are in the state, and it turns out we only have one.
Interesting.
So, but that's great for us. We still cover the entire state with support from universities, so we're able to have quarterly meetings and connect through university distance learning. If I give a plug to Davenport University and Northern Michigan University, they really help us reach out.
Again, I got to remember to put the bell in the remote here.
Yeah, I know.
And our meetings, it turns out, our meetings are not members only, but here at Secure World we have a members only meeting once a year.
Right.
But otherwise, each quarter we open up our meeting to everyone. We try to get you in as a member because then you get access to a portal, a secure portal, where you can get that intelligence information and you can connect locally or nationally with people that are in your sector.
So this is not necessarily for cybersecurity professionals. This is for,
any type of threat, right? Not just cyber, right? Acts of God. Let's say that there's an issue in the waterways, right? And let's talk about Florida, right? The hurricanes went through. Right. There's roaming power outages. There's the ports are affected, right? So what about the transportation sector, and what is the downstream impact of that, and how can we connect with each other and help each other out? And in situations like that, InfraGard can be leveraged sometimes to participate in these response teams and to communicate transportation paths with each other, right? So there are all kinds of, you have that channel. We've identified sector points of contact. So like if I'm the sector chief for transportation, let's say, I would have a contact list of all the other transportation people for Michigan, and I would also have a connection nationally to say, what do I need to know such that I can ask questions and I can cascade information. So it's really a great communication channel for any type of threat, although it feels cyber heavy quite often.
Very much so. But I'm just curious to become a member of InfraGard. I applied actually after the last meeting. I didn't get denied.
Rejected?
No, I didn't get rejected. But I was just curious if it was for, like, that was the question. It was for what type of people should actually get involved?
So if you go out to the Department of Homeland Security or you just Google critical infrastructure, it's going to pop up right away, the DHS definition, and there are 16 different sectors. So if you're involved in telecommunications, for instance, information technology, there's 16 of them. Certainly water, power,
infrastructure.
Infrastructure, right? Transportation. And then you can apply. There's a slight background check that has to happen. Make sure you don't have any felonies.
That's why you're hanging out.
And then you'll get notified with portal access and how to log in and connected with your group.
Very cool.
Perfect. So, go ahead.
I was going to say, where do we find out more?
Infraguard.org.
Okay.
And then you look up by state wherever you are.
Okay, perfect. Definitely appreciate the time, Stephanie. Infraguard.org. Definitely highly recommend checking them out or going to one of their next chapter meetings.
Go sign up, see if you can get in before Bob does.
Yeah, then I'll know. But no, appreciate the time, Stephanie. And this is the IT and the D show from Secure World Detroit, and we're going to take a quick break.
All right, we're good.
Welcome back. We are live on the floor. Secure World Detroit out in Dearborn at the beautiful Ford Conference Center. This is the IT and the D show, and we are hanging out with a good old friend of ours, Mr. Dan Lorman, who's the CSO for Security Mentor. How they treating you out there?
That's great, Bob. Great to see you guys.
Absolutely. The sales guys going, keeping you busy out there? I'm just being funny.
No, it's all good. It's loving it. I've been there 3 years now since I left the state. I was Chief Security Officer for the state of Michigan. Left in August of 14, and it's going great. We're growing well, and we're now in 22 state governments and all over the world, 13 languages, 33 countries, so it's going fantastic.
So you're teaching a class here on security awareness training.
Correct. See, when I hear awareness, I mean, is there a 5K? Do we get a T-shirt? Do we?
You're good. That's funny. It's interesting. In security awareness, every company has something. They're either doing, kind of death by PowerPoint, or they're doing, the once a year check the box exercise, or something along those lines. This class is really...
Here are the answers you give the auditor when he walks around.
Well, that's right. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I think what this is, it's an interesting mix of people. I've been able to do this over the last 3 years at, I think, 25 of these secure worlds around the country. So this fall I'm going to be in Dallas, and then Denver, then Seattle, after Detroit. And everyone really has the same goal of how do you build a security culture?
Yeah.
How do you make it so that this is relevant in people's lives, that end users for home work, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, we all have technology, right?
Yeah.
We all have smartphones. And how do you make this intriguing, interesting, gamified, intriguing? Yes, you need the top-down management, the executive support, but you also need the bottom-up. This is interesting, this is engaging, and then teach me something I don't already know.
How do you get that sales guy to not say to himself, I'm going to email this Excel spreadsheet of all our customer data home so I can work on it?
We do. That's a problem.
It is a problem, and so is losing smartphones in airports, and
laptops and phone booths,
and different technology in taxi cabs in New York City.
Laptops and phone booths. What year is this? What am I talking? What year is this? When's the last phone booth I've ever saw?
But I mean, you know what I mean. They say 1,000 mobile devices are lost in taxi cabs in New York City in an average week.
Oh my!
Really?
God.
Yes. So this is a big issue. Now, some of those get them back. Some people call the taxi company and get them back. But people...
Yeah, where's my phone? Yeah, that's what I... Yeah,
I mean, but the reality is you can make training sticky so people are more aware. And that it's not just, here's the checklist of 10 things you need to do. But, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with checklists, but nobody goes out and says, I'm going to lose my smartphone today, right? But, that's not something people want to do. But if you can make it so that, for example, you can gamify it so that they're running around the airport. We have a game in one of our lessons where you're the Mario guy. And they're running around the airport. Where are the 12 lost and stolen devices? And as you're finding them, it's flipping over like Family Feud.
Oh, nice.
So like number 4, number 5, security checkpoint, kiosk, the bus, the taxi cab to the airport.
Yeah, the rental car shuttle.
Well, the rental car shuttle.
That was a joke that went around yesterday with the new Apple device that does facial recognition.
There you go.
So now my company says I got to change my password every 90 days, so now I got to go get facial
reconstruction surgery. Yeah.
Every 90 days.
That's hilarious. No, but I mean, the idea is if you do that, then people, it's sticky in their minds. And this is real data. Yeah. This is based on real data. But I can tell you stories of people who, when you do make this intriguing and interesting, most people want to do the right thing. But the question is, do they remember? So I've had people who've literally come up to me and said, Dan, I was in Orlando getting off a bus, and I walk into the terminal, and my 2 daughters and I, when my wife and I were walking to the terminal to fly back to Michigan, and reality of, I'm reaching down my belt and my smartphone's gone. And they're like, stay here, watch the bags. Ran back, jumped in front of the bus.
Yeah.
Which I said is not part of the training.
Right.
Gets on the bus, and then he's like, the guy's like, what is it? He's cussing at him and everything. He says, well, my smartphone's on this bus somewhere. He says, how do you know? He says, well, I had it when I was coming over to the terminal. So he goes back. There's a smartphone sitting on the luggage rack. And the reality of it was, he walks back to his wife and his kids. This literally story guy told me, and he said to me, would you get your smartphone back? Yes. He says, well, how did you remember? He said, well, what happened was I put my smartphone down, pulled my 2 bags off, gave it to my 2 daughters, pulled my other 2 bags off, gave it to me and my wife. We started walking, and I started thinking about that game.
Yep.
And it was sticky. It was in my mind. I reached down to my belt, and I realized. So my point is, you can, gamification works. But also other techniques people need to be using about how do you get executive buy-in? How do you have metrics around this? How can you measure security culture? I think all of these things are real, and I think you can really move the needle, but you need a plan, you need a strategy, and that's what we'll talk about in this class.
And I think part of it is saying, this isn't just important, this is your job.
Yes.
Right? Our company's data is the most sensitive thing we have. This is your job.
Yeah, exactly.
Not to take these steps and,
Correct. And I think, but along those lines, Bob, so you want to be able to make it, teach me something I don't already know. So not just make it a penalty or I screwed up, I failed the quiz, I had a problem, and now you're just going to slap me on the wrist or you're going to dock me or something. I'm not saying there's never a place for punishment, but I think my view is almost like we discipline our kids. I have 4 kids. The goal shouldn't be, how am I going to discipline them today? I mean, it should be how to encourage them, how to build them up, how to give them tools to be successful.
To make the right decisions ahead of time.
Exactly. And to do the right things. And then, yes, there might be an element of discipline. I'm not saying that doesn't exist. But, I think you can build a program. And I tell you, it's amazing how many companies come in and they just, death by PowerPoint. It's the same old thing. Check the box. Been doing it for years. And people are ready. They're ready to make a change. And so I'm seeing that. And I think, if you talk about people, process, and technology, 90% of it is the people. It's the people side of security. So how do you do techniques? How do you do tips? And how do you build a program that really changes that culture?
So now what is this? So what is this class you're teaching? Is that the focus?
The focus is how to build an enterprise-wide security awareness training culture. So, we do it in a vendor-agnostic way. We do talk about Security Mentor, which is the company I work for, as examples. We do gamify the game I told you. But whether you're using your own stuff, whether you're using, how do you move the needle? How do you measure it? We go through 3 different sessions, an hour and a half each. In the morning, 8 to 9:30, 3 to 4:30 in the afternoon. I'm going to be jumping over there in about 10 minutes. And then also, again, the second day, 8 to 9:30 again. So really, teaching people these are enterprise-wide leaders from medium-sized companies, larger companies, a couple small companies. How can they train their employees?
Awesome.
So where do we find you?
So I'm on Twitter. I'm at GovCSO, and I blog a lot on Government Technology Magazine. Lorman on cybersecurity, so LOHRMANN, Lorman. Just Google that. Dan Lorman is my name, and again, I love what I do. I'm passionate about it.
Awesome.
Obviously, it shows just a little bit.
Thanks, guys. And always great to talk to you.
Absolutely. Cool. Dan Lorman, CSO, Security Mentor, hanging out all week here at Secure World Detroit. It's Bob and Dave from the IT and the D Show. We're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back. Welcome back to a special edition of the IT and the D podcast. We are broadcasting live here on the floor at Secure World Detroit, bumping into a bunch of old friends, including one here that's sitting with us, Steve Fox here from the federal government, quote unquote. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing good. So you spoke this morning on a topic I honestly am completely unfamiliar with.
That's why a lot of people are.
It seems like it has a pretty serious potential impact on the IT industry in general.
Yeah, that's the point. There's a lot of listeners that probably also don't know, too. But I guess why don't you dive in what your topic was this morning, and let's get deeper on it.
So the topic was on the General Data Protection Regulations. A lot of people call it the GDPR.
Okay.
And basically, if you have customers in the European Union, you have to comply with that. In fact, if you just have one customer in Europe, all of a sudden you have to comply with this whole new regime of data protection. So it has a huge impact on U.S. companies across the board, not just in financial, but also in healthcare and even educational sectors.
And we're not selling to Europe anymore.
I was going to say, yeah, you would assume commerce as well, yeah.
So my talk was focused on the impact of this new regime on offshoring, because about 38% of American multinationals offshore all their data processing overseas.
I don't know that I knew that was that high.
Yes. And I did my MBA residency in India, a huge outsourcing country, and they're behind the ball when it comes to complying with the GDPR regime.
So I mean, honestly, I would think it's kind of like all the security conversations we've had so far today. It's all about where's your weakest link, and it sounds like that's your weakest link.
Well, not knowing why you're outsourcing is a big problem.
Well, there's that.
Yeah. And so within India is fascinating in that in every other area except for telecommunications, they have no concept of privacy, and they have no federal laws governing data protection, except in telecommunications.
Which is odd, because that's where all the scam phone calls come from, is Indian call centers.
So from Microsoft, no, you're not.
So when I was over there, even people in the slums had cell phones.
Crazy.
We had a tour of the biggest slum in the country, is right there in India, and people were walking around with cell phones. Blew me away. And these people are worried about how their information is being conveyed and protected by these devices.
I'm a little thrown.
Yeah.
I would think there were bigger issues to worry about, but cool.
Well, you know, in India, if you've ever been to India, go to a marketplace.
Yep.
There is absolutely no personal space.
No.
And that is the consciousness that people have to data protection and privacy. They don't think it's a big deal because they project that lack of personal space onto data.
Interesting. So then how, I mean, I guess as a company that then deals with European data, what do you do? Like, how do you handle that?
Well, that's a great segue into my recommendations to people. There's an instrument called the binding contract. Binding corporate rules is what they call it, where you outline all your requirements for data protection. The problem is a lot of American firms assume that India has the same privacy values and privacy regulations that we do. That's a faulty assumption. So everything has to be articulated within that contract in order to protect firms. So that's a huge overhead of contractual language that needs to be addressed. If you don't do that and you're found in violation of GDPR, you could be facing a 4% fine on whatever money you make in that country.
Ow.
Yeah. So that's annual gross revenue.
Yike.
So some countries are saying we're not going to do business there.
Well, yeah.
So that was what we walked out of that room, and there was actually pretty heated debates in that. After my half an hour discussion, we had about 20-minute discussion where people were debating with me about what the hell do we do now?
Yeah.
Well, if you're a global brand, you just have to comply. There's really nothing else you can do. If you're a Coca-Cola, if you're a
we're just not going to sell Coke in Europe.
No, you can't not. Right.
But see, there's an opportunity here. So India is launching a number of public-private partnerships with firms from Europe, where those firms are showing them how to meet the GDPR.
Okay.
So if you're an entrepreneur in this space and you can pull together the talent, you can enter that market and sell your services to bring the country up to speed.
Okay.
So there's a huge opportunity for professionals in this area to make money in India and also in China.
Interesting. So, and I guess how many companies like that are there?
Not too many.
Okay.
Mostly the European firms, but I would imagine that firms such as EY and Deloitte that have European subsidiaries are looking at this.
Are probably all over this, for sure. All right, cool.
So that in a nutshell is what I spoke about today.
Awesome. All right, well, hey, thanks for stopping by, man. I mean, where do you want people to find you at, and how do we get in touch if we need to?
I'm on Twitter at Secure Lexicon.
Okay.
And I'm also on the web on securelexicon.com.
All right. Very cool. Thanks for stopping by, man. Always love these chats.
Great guys.
Steve Fox, always a pleasure. This is the IT and the D show live from Secure World Detroit, and we will be right back.
The emergency destruct system is now activated.
Conan, what is best in life? To crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentation of your women.
Long live Flash. You've saved your Earth. Have a nice day.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Nice shooting, son. What's your name? Murphy. Make the run. The run.
Game over, man. It's game over.
It's over, Johnny. It's over.
Nothing is over. Nothing. You just don't turn it off.
I can't say no, and I don't really want to, so.
Well, especially with the back doors open.
Yo! Hold up! Time out! Time out! Y'all take a chill. You need to cool that shit out. And that's the double truth. Ruth.
Bob loves it in the can.
I hope this was as much fun for you as it was for me.
That's why I like it in the can.
Joe, own the truth.
Fear me.
My job is to make sure this program is morally upright and cultural and wholesome.
Shut up, Mimsy! Shut up, Mimsy! Shut up, Mimsy!
Why would Buick put their cars next to the Bentleys? Why? That's not marketing.
The alphabet.
It's brilliant.
Yeah, I can't take that position.
That analogy sucks because it's right.
Because you're getting your 8-track tuned up.
Are we at a break yet? Yeah, so now I'm just doing stupid stuff to make me laugh.
Venture capital is not the end game.
When are we going to talk about me?
Jane, you ignorant slut.
It's my show. I can say what I want.
Yeah. Kiss my ass, go home, unplug, get off the goddamn internet. You are everything that is wrong with the internet right now.
You're so white right now.
I'm the whitest guy in the room. Just explain it to me.
I love this city.
I was banging on the wang.
Really? Should we talk about this? Tag team it. Should I keep going or should I stop?
Can I just say, it's been great being on a show that talks about Mickey Rooney dying for 20 seconds and then poop for 10 minutes.